You are now listening to the Do It Movement podcast, where we share our experiences in real estate investing and encourage you to take action. You don't want to miss what we have in store today, so let's welcome our host, Martine Richardson, and our co-host, Lori Eubanks.
What's up, Do It Movement listeners? This is your host, Martine Richardson, your buy and hold coach. Today, I am joined with my co-host, Lori Eubanks, and the Tashi King. How you doing today, Tashi?
Hey, y'all. I'm good. Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad that you are on the podcast today. This is going to be a really information-packed episode. But before we begin, I must share. Freedom Fest is tomorrow, and it's about to be lit. Like, I'm not even trying to hype it, even though I'm hyped, but I am not trying to hype it. It's going to be really good. It's going to be exactly what you're expecting, which is great. But we're going to have music. We're going to have a taco truck. We got a bounce house for the kids. We got door prizes. And the top door prize, guys, is a 55-inch TV. And this is all free.
What?
$3.99. Thanks to our sponsors. Our sponsors are the bomb, and I'll talk about them if you come out to Freedom Fest. But come on out. If you want to go, RSVP. It's not too late. If you're listening to this on Thursday, it's not too late. But if you listen to this after Friday, June 6th, it's too late. You gotta catch the next one.
I'm excited. I can't wait to win that TV. Well, we're so excited to join that tomorrow. And today we're excited to share some knowledge, some inspiration, and really excited to hear about your journey and just, what led you into this path and into real estate, into that line of work. Where did you start?
My parents, that's the short of it. So my parents were pastors, day job. My dad worked for the post office. My mom was a paralegal, but they were pastors. And so they utilized real estate as a way to supplement their income. So that's the gist of it. That's how I got started. And then once my dad got sick, I quit college and went real estate full time. And I've been doing that ever since. So.
Wow, that's amazing. So you learned the game much earlier and you saw that was the way of really providing. So when they first started sharing real estate, were you immediately interested, or what sparked the interest other than, unfortunately, what you dealt with jumping further in, but were you, what did you see growing up that interested
No, I
you?
wasn't immediately interested. If my mom was here, she would laugh and she'd be like, "Yeah, I didn't think she was paying attention, but I guess she was," because it was kind of like, I don't want to hear that. Like, I'm just a kid, and basically we have to go into these properties that people have messed up and like clean it. Like there was nothing fun about that as a kid. Like, I want to play. Like, what are y'all doing? And I was laughing because I still have it. My dad started off with, I don't know if y'all remember or have heard of Carlton sheets.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what my dad bought. The Carlton sheet binders with the cassette tapes, and so that's how he kind of got started in it. But when my dad got sick, I started doing real estate like before my dad got sick. I was in college. So it was like, oh, that's a way you can have flexibility, right, with my schedule. Because it's like, I didn't want to work retail or do anything like that. And so when he got sick, it just allowed me the opportunity for my mom to come off of FMLA, or I guess go on to FMLA, so she could be there with my dad and then just help support my parents, because my dad didn't get like a salary or anything like that from the church. So all the people who be like, pastor still money, not all pastors are getting paid from their church, So that was just a way that allowed me to serve my parents and help them. So yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So, and it's amazing that because a lot of us that are building, we wonder what the experience is like on our children, because I pack up my kids and, go look at smelly houses. And so the experience for them, I wonder, are they going to want to jump in because their experience may not have been the best? So it's really inspiring to hear that, you still jumped in and we're excited to really grow it. So when you jumped in, fully into real estate, were you focused on rentals or were you focused on flipping, or what did you do?
I was focused on money. So
Okay. Yes.
because I was 19 years old, like when I got my license the first time. But a little bit before that, I was like a transaction coordinator, right? So making sure that when real estate agents got a deal, it went from someone signed the contract to I want to buy to the deal actually closed and the new buyers became, the owners and the sellers got their money. So when you're seeing like how much is being made, so at that time, I'll just say this, I was making about $25 an hour as a 19-year-old. I won't say what year it was. Maybe I was 19, like 4 years ago, who knows? But
Right.
so I thought that was good. You know what I mean? But then when I started seeing them getting the checks with the commas, I wanted some of that. So I went
That's
and
good.
got my real estate license. And so from getting my real estate license, that was fun. And I'm about to date myself because there was a time, once upon a time, you could be a mortgage officer, a mortgage loan originator, and you didn't need a license. You know what I mean? This is when you got the day's rates. I'm really dating myself, but the day's rates were faxed into the office and what was being offered, like a fax machine. And so you were able to do like your clients the real estate portion and also get them financing. So that was a great time to be alive. Shout out to Countrywide from way back in the day. I don't know if y'all remember them, but it
Wow.
went on from that. But then I was like, I don't want to be an agent because the people who spent the least amount of money wanted the most amount of attention and
Mm.
they called all the time. So I wanted to start investing. And so that's what I did. I actually bought my first property in Memphis, Tennessee, where my dad's from, because it was way cheaper than being in Seattle. That's where I was doing real estate at. So you weren't buying anything in Seattle for about $50,000, not even a garage.
Mm-hmm.
But, in Memphis, it was more affordable to invest in. So it just kind of went on from there. And then let's see, 2016 is when I got involved in short-term rental. Lori, that was like, yeah. So I tell people
Yes.
I've done just about everything in residential real estate except for development. And that's something I eventually want to do.
Love that. So you've been building up a portfolio and that's helped you build other things as well. Tell us a little bit about, you know, the people that you're helping through your furnished rentals and, some things, some creative things that you found along the way.
So my jam is transitional housing, right? So short-term rental was super fun. I enjoyed it because my children love to travel. They like hotels and they like short-term rentals. So that just allowed us one to make money because I went through a divorce and this is what I say, like real estate gives you freedom, right? So going through my divorce, if I had a traditional job, y'all, I probably would have been homeless under a bridge, right? So real estate allowed me the opportunity to be able to just go through that time and be with my kids. And so that's really when my short-term rental portfolio started to grow. But then from that, I said my parents were pastors, just like serving people. And so traditional rentals that I had, long-term rentals that I had, oftentimes I found myself renting to people who have been formerly incarcerated. They had stable employment. They had a desire to change. They just had landlords saying no simply because they had an F, on their record. And I just didn't think that was right. I'm very purpose driven. If I wasn't doing real estate, I would have went on and finished law school, probably advocating for dads. That was just like my jam. And so in this, it allows me to still kind of do a little bit of advocacy. So taking short-term rental and transitional living, and it's the same thing. I think I was sharing with Lori that transitional housing is really just serving guests, and your guests are just different. And so maybe they were formerly incarcerated, but maybe they're aged out of foster care, or maybe they used to be a veteran, or maybe they're a survivor of domestic violence. So really, that's just what I've been focused on because I'm about profits, but I'm also about, purpose as well. So we can have both is what I
I
believe.
love it.
Yeah.
Purposeful profits,
Yeah.
helping people. Is that what you said earlier? There was a lot of P's
I know
in
I
there.
love alliteration, but it's like I want more investors to have purposeful properties in their portfolios so that they can profit. So
So
that's
here's
all.
the big question. Are you making more being purposeful than you would just renting it out to a long-term person? What do the numbers look like?
Yeah, I am making more. One, I believe I'm making more because it's something that I'm passionate about, so I pursue it more intentionally. But the other thing is long-term rentals I think they're good because we have some Section 8. But with this, the way that you can charge rent or fees is different. So, a long-term rental, generally that's one family. They're going to be there for at least 12 months. And so in this space, I can charge per bed, right? So that makes it a whole lot more lucrative and advantageous. And instead of maybe serving one family in one house, we can serve sometimes 10 people in one house. We just actually completed an 11 bedroom for men. So and people do it all different kinds of ways. And somebody might shoot me for saying this, well, not literally, but we personally do not put more than 2 people in a room at all, right? But I know people in this space, in the transitional space, and I probably shouldn't tell people what to do, but don't do that. Like, don't do that. If I find out you're doing that and you ask me my opinion, I'm gonna frown on it. I'm gonna encourage people not to send their people to reside with you, because there is a way. Like, people say, oh, real estate can be cutthroat, but I'm like, we're serving people in this space, and we really want to support them in transitioning and transitioning well. So while you definitely can make money, like really good money, and sometimes more money than if you did only have traditional rentals, when you do right by people, especially in this space, because let me tell you, the other thing, there is almost always, and I don't like to deal with absolutes, so that's what I'm saying, almost always a higher demand for people in the transitional space, whether they're returning home after being released from prison, whether they're young people aging out of foster care, whether they are former veterans who served our country and served our country well, or they're survivors of domestic violence. In that capacity, there's almost always a greater demand for housing for that population than there is a supply. And so I'm like, just do people the right way. There's no reason to put 6 grown adults on 3 sets of bunk beds, even if rules and regulations or space say you can. Like, we're not doing that. So it's just really bringing back the humanity and the service. Like I said, these are our guests because they're not going to be with us forever. We want to serve them well, and there's a way to do that. I mean, think about it. One bedroom, okay, one bedroom could yield you about $1,400. One bedroom. So I'm like, let's not be greedy, right? Let's not be greedy. And we have a builder that we're working with. He's building 4-bedroom, 2-bath houses. So, I mean, a 4-bedroom, I don't know, Martine's probably way more versed in this about what the average 4-bedroom could net you, right? How much money you can make if it was a single family versus in the transitional space. $1,300 per bedroom. We're at $2,400 for 2, $4,800 for 4 bedrooms in one property.
Wow.
So, and you're serving a purpose.
Yeah. So, wow. So that's amazing. I mean, those numbers definitely don't compare. Do you feel like it's more work, or are you delegating that work out and building a team?
I think it depends on how much you want to be involved, right? So, Lori, I understand that you're familiar with short-term rentals and housing. You essentially could use that same dynamic, that same blueprint to set up the space, right? And then you can determine how much you want to be involved, right? So, I mean, you literally get the same things: pots, pans, your bedding, all of those types of things. And if you don't want to manage it yourself, there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can delegate that property to an organization who's in the space. They're immersed in the space. They're also providing support services. And the beautiful thing about that is organizations not only need spaces, but because they need to provide consistency for their residents, the people that they're serving, they're more likely to sign a long-term lease with you. 3 years is kind of like the minimum they really like to. But oftentimes those organizations are coming in, they want to sign a 5-year lease because they want to know that they have a place. Also, it works because a lot of those places, those organizations have what? They have funders, they have donors. And so when they're going to ask those donors for the funds to run those programs, they need to be able to say, oh, we have a stable plan for this leg of the program, which is housing. And I think we all can agree that housing is a challenge for many people. And once you add on the layer and the nuance of transition, regardless of if it's for, again, domestic violence, aging out of foster care, post incarceration, or our veterans. That's another challenge. That's another added layer. So this is not even just a desire. We need more investors who are informed, who are knowledgeable, who are willing to show up in this space, say yes, and provide a quality product and service for people. So the short of it is, it could be as simple as saying yes to Tashi to come in and partner with an organization, or, saying yes to what Martine is going on, having her show you how to go ahead and get a long-term rental, because you think, well, it's not long-term, but absolutely it can be. Or even having Lori say yes to, well, how do I even set it up like a short-term rental? And also just even independent housing. Like I said, say yes, because a lot of times people in these spaces, these other organizations provide them with job training, with job opportunities. A lot of people are entrepreneurs, so they have the income, they have the skills to transition. They just need the housing piece. That's like the big missing piece. So if you're able to say yes, I'm like, why say no? Again, purpose and profits, y'all. That's what I say.
Right. So let's say I'm an investor, I have a house, I'm looking to, I guess, maximize my profits, but also with purpose, as you're saying. What's my first step? I want to get into this. What's my first step? How do I even get into this space?
Well, the first step is to understand where you want to serve people. Do you want to serve them locally where you are? And then I can almost guarantee you today, you could get on Google and you could say domestic violence housing in and put your city in. Or you could say, re-entry housing. That's the one that I'm super passionate about. And I personally am building a portfolio. But you put that in there in Google, and you can call like your reentry office or domestic violence survivor, those offices, those centers, and say, hey, do y'all need housing? I can almost guarantee you every one of those places are going to say yes. They're going to say yes. Now this I can say, I have never called any city, any county in the reentry space and said, hey, do y'all need housing? Do y'all have people who come in and they just need the housing piece, and not been told, yes, absolutely. Like, it's never happened. I don't think it ever will, but it has never happened. So if you get on Google, you put in what niche of transitional housing you're interested in and type in resource center or support center or your county and reentry office, those types of things, those numbers will come up. You can get on the phone. And I'm a little bit, I think, more tenacious. Like, I will see, and I literally did this, that's why I'm saying this, but I will see the probation and parole officers' cars riding in traffic. I'm flagging them down. Hey, I just want you to know that I've got housing for your people. And it's literally created opportunities where we're invited out and people are like, oh my gosh, where do I sign up? So I'm like, you can just do this. Like, get on Google, put in your area of interest in transitional housing and that city, that county, and put office or center. A number's going to come up. You call them and say, hey, do you need housing? Once you get that yes, then you can get the ball rolling as it relates to property. So if you already have a property, if you know of a property, I mean, let Martine coach you up on how to get the property. You know what I mean? And once you get it, it's like you are guaranteed to have beds fill up if you set it up the right way. And look, if you do it the right way, no more than 2 people, I will send people to you because we need it. We need it in this space.
So I got a house. I call up these places. Everybody says, yes, my people need a place to live. It sounds like, from what I hear you saying, that you can either do this 2 ways. You can make the contract directly with the organization and then they just fill up everything, or you can make it with the individuals. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. You can absolutely do this. So when you make it with the organization, you will get a little more support from them, and they'll tell you exactly like what you would need. Like, do you have to partner with an organization who has a program? They'll tell you exactly because every municipality is different, but I mean, some municipalities will even tell you the type of furniture that you need to have. Like, you need to have at least a dining room table, where everybody can sit down, and you need to have this amount of smoke detectors, and, you need to have this amount of square feet per person in a room, right? So just kind of off the top in Tennessee, you need to have 60 square feet per person in a bedroom. But again, I don't care if I have enough for 3 or 4 people in a bedroom. We're not putting any more than 2 grown adults in a bedroom. We're not doing that. And when we can, we try to give single bedrooms. So like the 11 bedroom property I shared, we have a mix, right? So we have 5 and 5, and then we have another bedroom that we actually didn't utilize as a bedroom. And some people might be like, oh my God, you're missing revenue. No, again, this is serving people and creating a home away from home. So we actually kind of use that as a meeting space for them to kind of hang out and do things. So there's that way. And then like Martine mentioned, if you want to just do it on your own, it's still a simple way to do it because it's like co-living, not a rooming house, not a boarding house, but it's co-living where you're allowing people an opportunity to live together in community. Okay. And this is the cool part about it for people who are like, oh my gosh, the risk. And what if they don't do this? And first of all, there's risk when you wake up in the morning. You're going to sit up in the corner and do nothing. Right. So we just like to mitigate risk and try things. And so right now in those homes, I personally, and let me just preface this, because I don't want y'all to come back on Lori and Martine. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an accountant. So I'm just telling you what I do, what works. Okay. And I'm out here living life. But I don't have in those spaces any lease agreements. We are a membership. And so what people pay to stay with us are membership agreements. And we do that for their benefit and support and also for our protection. Right. So we don't have lease agreements, they're membership agreements, because again, people are in transition. And so the goal is to be able to support them in finding stable, long-term houses that fit their needs. So you have some people who will stay with you and they're trying to contact a family member. And sometimes when they contact the family member wants them to come be with them. Right. We have some people who stay with us for a specific amount of time because they want to move in and reunite with their family and get a new place. And so we never want to stop anybody from that opportunity because that's the goal. So we don't want them feeling like, oh, I'm going to have to break my lease and not pay, or, I have to pass up on this opportunity because I just signed a lease. It's like, no, this is a membership agreement. And so we encourage them, hey, this is what's going on with you. We think that you should have a 3-month membership or a 12-month membership. And we allow people to extend. But that is protection for us, because if you don't pay your membership agreement, you're no longer a member, and members can't,
to go.
non-members can't stay, this is exclusive, but it's supportive in that way. And we provide services. We have their common spaces cleaned once a month. Sometimes we do like game night, or we'll have like a community dinner. So it's to help like create community. And like I said, it's very independent. However, you want to be involved in that. And the cool thing about that is I do it because I like to decorate, but sometimes in those spaces, you don't even have to furnish the actual bedroom, because some people have things that were donated to them. They want to decorate their own space, but oftentimes you will have people who need that, but then they want to buy their own bedding. So that actually gives you a little bit more freedom, a little bit less work. We're just furnishing the common areas. And another thing is, we personally don't put TVs in our spaces. We don't. Now you can, but we don't. And that's because we want, one, to foster community and for people to really be focused on their goal, what they're trying to accomplish. So we want people talking and interacting and staying focused, not just chilling. If they want to buy a TV on their own, they can, but it's pretty nuanced and simple in that way.
Right.
Yep.
So I really, the membership agreement that you set up with them, like, I feel like that's very creative, and it makes it so that like it's, it builds unity into these places. But I must ask, because I know we are all landlords on here, is there any vetting process to become a member, or is it I'm just going through the situation, your money is green, you can come up in my place?
No, not at all. Because let me be really candid. There's some times where we've accepted members who don't yet have the money. Like, we know we might not get paid for the first 2 weeks, but we know it's coming because an organization has backed them and they said, hey, we're going to pay for 6 months. I'm not going to tell someone, that's just me. Right. And people say, oh, you're going to make money. We do in that regard, but there absolutely is a vetting process. You can do that. And there's certain guidelines. I probably won't say, I don't want anybody to feel bad, but there's certain guidelines that if you don't meet, like, you can't stay. But instead of just telling you no, again, we find people that may not accept what we accept and we'll refer them. But absolutely, you can screen. Like, I don't allow any smoking in the property. So if you're like, I gotta have my cigarette at night in my bedroom, I love you and I'm not the space for you. So you absolutely can screen. Yes, we want to be fair, but you absolutely can screen and have your criteria, and what works. We have some spaces where we allow overnight guests and some spaces where we do not. So you get to set the tone. You know what I mean? Just as long as we're doing things legally and ethically correct. But outside of that, you can set the tone for your space for sure.
So have you ever, because I'm just like real curious, this sounds really good to me, but I'm very skeptical. I'm just gonna be really honest. I'm very skeptical. So I'm thinking over here like, well, have you had someone that was unruly, not like cooperating with the other people in the house? How did those situations play out when people stop paying their membership fee? What does this look like? Because they're a member, so it's no eviction court, I'm assuming. So you just send somebody over there, kick them out. What does this look like?
So remember, we talked about all the things I kind of dabbled in and did before, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that has helped me. So I'll say this, us personally, not yet, right? Okay. Like even in Section 8 properties, a lot of people don't want to do that because they say, oh my gosh, your tenants, they tear up your house. But again, that's why I like your question about the pre-screening and vetting. We try to do that work on the front end. It's no different than when you buy a property. Other people have said it, people might disagree, but you are really going to put yourself in the best position to make money on the property when you buy it, if you buy it right? So it's the same thing with your members. It's the same thing with your residents, your tenants, whatever you want to call them. You really set yourself up for success if you do it correctly on the front end. Like, don't be desperate. Don't be eager to serve so much because again, people are creative. Okay. People, they know how to package themselves correctly to get a yes. And when they get in, I will tell you, like I said, so far we haven't, because I'm very transparent. Okay. I love to serve, but also don't play with me. Okay. So there's that part. And we just keep it, up front. And I think because of my experiences, girl, because back in the day, I have definitely taken people's doors off. Hey, I think something might be wrong with that door. Yeah, I think something might be wrong with that door. I'm going to send maintenance over because you having a cookout at the property and you ain't paid your rent and you playing in my face, right? But again, that was, young, a little bit more tenacious. So there's that. But again, like, we have protocols in place. So just like with our traditional rentals, we're going to have inspections set up. There's things that you're going to have to do. But we have had, like other people, like kind of within our network who have issues. Like literally, I think I'll probably send you the picture, Martine, where there is no overnight guest. Like I said, we have some properties that are like that. And literally a member put a guest on their back, no joke, can't make this up, it's on camera, and put a blanket over the member's head as if you can't see two people. I mean, people will try it, right? People will try it. But what we have also found is a lot of times those are, if they're not new investors, again, they were very eager to fill the space, right? So I'm going to have a conversation with you. What do you hope to accomplish moving here? If I don't already know, because sometimes when people send me people, I kind of have an idea based off of what was shared, what led you to this space again, and what are you doing? Because this is not like as people say, a handout. This is a hand up. So asking the right questions on the front end and then verifying those things and letting them know, like, hey, this is not to discredit or scrutinize. This is for your protection in mind, because I want to be able to support you. And if we're not the right fit for you, we're not the right space, we don't want to say yes and then be a hindrance in your progress. That's just what it is. And again, why we need more investors. So it's like, if my property doesn't work, I'm like, hey, Lori, do you have a space here? This is what's going on. They've got maybe some things going on over here that I think that you're more equipped to support. So that's why that's important. But you absolutely can screen people, girl. I recommend it.
Yeah. 1,400 a door. Send them my way, girl.
Yes, two people. Yes. Absolutely.
So what type of checks and balances do you have in place to make sure that everyone is, I guess, following the rules and cooperating properly, and I guess keeping the, common areas presentable and stuff? So like, what do you do to make sure that everything's operating efficiently in these houses?
Okay, well, maybe Lori can relate to some of this. We utilize some of the same systems we used in short-term rentals. So I don't know if you remember kind of back in the day, I guess I should say Noise Aware was kind of one of those first noise monitoring systems that came out, where it manages, your, I guess it's decibels or whatever, but I'll just say your volume, right? So we put those in space. I might not be pronouncing it right, but it's MINUT is what we've moved over to now. Not only does it monitor noise, it also monitors if there's smoking and things like that, right? So we put those systems in place. We can get an alert on our phone. So before a property gets too rowdy or the police are called, we know. Some places have house managers, not all of them, but some of the places have house managers. And then there's cameras in all of the common areas pointing into everybody's room. So there's no, this person went in my room, no, they didn't, those types of things. So we do that. Nobody gets a key. You don't have a physical key for the places that have a house manager. They do have a physical key, but all the members, they have those keyed door pads, right? And they get the code. Because again, after, we've had the conversation, you haven't paid that membership due, you haven't had a conversation with what the plan is, you're not being accountable, you're not being proactive. Thank the Lord for Bluetooth, okay? Then that can be disabled, right? Disabled, guess what? In accordance with your membership agreement. This is, again, not a handout. And this is not, I especially, like I say, in the reentry space where we operate heavily, this is also not an extension of prison and confinement. So we just take you back to what you said. This is just really, common sense stuff. Hey, in this membership agreement, we said we were going to provide this, and you agreed to do this, and you're not doing this. Why is that? And sometimes people will just be honest, like life is happening, right? So they need the support. And sometimes people are just a headache. But again, like I said, personally, not yet. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. We haven't had those types of issues. And I will say this, even like back when I first started this, like I said, renting like long-term properties to people who were poor, I didn't have any like crazy issues, at least not to me. I didn't think so, because people were communicative. I was like, hey, you're giving me a chance as a new young landlord. I'm giving you a chance. Just communicate. And I mean, I did have someone who got locked up, got into it with a significant other, and they called me from the jail. I accepted the call, and they said, hey, look, my rent money is hid in this place. Go and get it. Now, I didn't get the rent money because the girlfriend had got to it. I mean, the whole house was trashed. I guess the she, was looking for money, and no problem. But it was like being able to work with this person and say, okay, well, what are you looking at? Are you looking at being gone for a long time? Are you going to need a new place? Just because, again, just as a landlord, like you talked about, in doing your due diligence and preparing yourself, we should account for vacancies, right? So maybe in the long-term space, it looks a little bit different when you're in transitional housing. I mean, I'm sure Lori can attest, you've had to account for, you had your peak season, depending on where your short-term rental was located, right? So in Atlanta, where we have places, it was pretty consistent. But in Virginia Beach, where we have places, we know we got a short amount of window to get revenue, and we might look at, longer term options, in our down season. So it's the same here. It's really the same here in this space.
Okay.
I just wanted to share that I've been in court many times where it was pad split, and they always dismiss the case every time. They would dismiss, because they were like, it's membership. So they were like, sorry, like they didn't support it for whatever reason. So you're doing something right.
I'm kind of busting at the seams when you said this. So when you said pad split, our membership agreement, and this is why it's important to be in community and to have networks, right? Because I'm certainly not as large as pad split, but I will say I want to get there in this space to have this platform because it's necessary. But what I will say is, because of some of the networks that I am a part of, the same attorneys who write pad splits agreements are the same attorneys who looked over our agreements and said, hey, this is what needs to be changed. This is where you might have an issue. And we were able to have that simply because of who we're connected to. So that's why I say, thankfully not yet. I mean, never say never. You definitely want to prepare. But I feel very confident in what we're offering and what we're doing, because of some of the backing and connections that we have. So,
Right.
yes, ma'am.
So you said you've been doing this since you were 19, which was yesterday. But what are some great lessons that you have learned, or what's been a game changer for you since you've been in just real estate period that you think can help someone that's listening?
Don't judge a book by its cover one way or the other. Honestly, like my worst tenants, this probably comes up almost every time. My worst tenants are tenants who were top executives at a national brand and an attorney, and I had to take them to court, and it was terrible. I hated it. It was the worst, right? So don't judge it, because you would look at them. I mean, good credit, all these things, terrible. It was a property on the golf course we had. It was horrible, right? So not judging a book by its cover. And for as nice as I like to be, I still have to handle the business of it. Like, just don't take people's word, because it's like you feel like, oh, this person will be nice and they'll do the right thing. And they tell you about their mama, their grandmama, and those people will try to get one over on you every time. So have it in writing. And if you don't feel comfortable, because sometimes I'm like that, I say, hey, look, I know things are good now, but just in case, this is for your protection and mine. I want to make sure I'm looking out for you and you feel protected. There's that. And then just never get too excited about like a real estate deal until it's done, especially if it's not, your property. You're not going to, and that's something that, I have to be reminded of often, because like I want to put the best and the nicest it's like, girl, you're not living there. You just need to make it nice and welcoming for people, because man, Lori, when we first started in short-term rental, like going and buying high-end furniture, and that worked kind of, because I'm still on Marketplace with it. Like I said, I'm a deal hound. But that worked when you were kind of doing one or two at a time. But when we started doing multiple, court furniture, here we come. You know what I mean? Like, and seeing what made sense to buy retail, what made sense to rent, what made sense to, so just really be smart. And, one thing I think I try when I look at it, I guess I try to stay, this is just me. But also, again, everybody has a different way. And like I say, the best way to do real estate is the legal, ethical, and moral way. There's absolutely some systems that are more efficient than others. But for me, because I have traditionally bought properties with cash, I try to stay between 65 and 68% of what a property is worth. That's just me. Okay. So don't overbuy, because people say, oh, my house lost equity and this and that. I'm like, look, something is only worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. So if you buy a property today and you paid $100,000 for it, and then somebody said, oh, the market went down and now it's only worth $50,000, hold on to it. But if you bought right, you're able to weather the storms. Okay. So, and this is the thing I always say, y'all, there is never, and I mean never, like, look, I'll go to war behind this. I'll stand on this 10 toes down. There is never a bad time for real estate. Not ever. Okay. You just have to know what to do. That's it. Because everything is real estate. Everything. In the air, people have what they call air rights. Below the ground, somebody owns that. Everything is real estate. Do you understand that? So if you say, I don't got to live in land, you know what I'm saying? I can fly around. Guess what? Somebody has air rights. They could shoot you down. So everything is real estate. So remember that. And there's never a bad time for it. You just have to know what to do with it. So that's it. That's my spiel.
Well, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on today. For the people that are listening and they're like, dang, I'm loving what she's talking about, I want to get into that space. How can they reach you if they need some help?
Well, you guys can find me on Facebook as Tashi King, or you can find me on Instagram at The Generous Experts. That's it.
I love it. I love it. Lori, if people want to get in contact with you, what is the best way to get in contact with you?
I'm on all the social media platforms. My email will be in the notes, and love talking real estate, love making deals, and reach out and love to connect.
I love it. And if you guys want to reach me, the best way to reach me is to come to Freedom Fest. But if you can't make it, join my free buy and hold group. It's called The Freedom Inc. I have a case study every single Tuesday. We show you how to buy rental properties without using any of your own money. But until next time, Do It Movement listeners, see ya.
Thank you for tuning into our show. If you need more handholding on your rental property investor journey, book a 15-minute strategy session with Martine. We can see if you're a fit for the Freedom Inc. fam, link in the show notes. Also be sure to join the free Freedom Inc. Facebook group, where each week Martine goes over a real-life rental property investor deal and shows you how the deal was found, how to get the money, and how to make it cash flow and much more. If you'd like to connect with Lori, be sure to email her at vitalizeproperties@live.com. Until next time, see you.